So I'm now going to make Easter bread, Easter grain pie, or pizza grande, as my grandma used to say. And the first thing I'm going to do is get the crust ready. So I've already prepared some stuff, have it all measured out. So I have a half a cup here of Crisco. We're going to put that in the mixer. And 1 stick of margarine, which is also a half a cup. And to that, we're going to add 1 cup of sugar and let that mix till it's nice and creamy, which shouldn't take too long. And once that gets nice and creamy, we're going to add 6 eggs. And I like to add them one at a time. I also like to crack them in a separate bowl, just in case you get some eggshells in it. And if you happen to get an eggshell, in your eggs, you can just take the shell itself, the bigger half, and use it to scoop out your egg shell. Excuse me, to scoop out the eggshell. It seems to adhere right away to it. So this looks pretty crispy, pretty creamy. And slowly we'll add the eggs one at a time. So we have all 6 eggs added. And this will take a few seconds. Each time you want to stop it for a second and scrape down the sides of the bowl to get that mixture all together. Because it does stick up to the sides of the bowl, so you want to make sure that the Crisco and the butter and the margarine is all nice and incorporated into your mixture. Okay, we have 2 more eggs to go. That's 1 and 2. I'm going to stop it again, scrape down the sides of my bowl. Make sure your mixer stops before you stick your spoon in there. Here I have 4 cups of flour. And in that 4 cups of flour, I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of baking powder. But, sorry, we had 1 more egg to roll in there. I also started to zest an orange. I like to do it on a little grater and really make it small. My sons didn't like little big chunks of orange in there, so I found that grating it like this, and it adds a little more flavor to your crust. The crust tastes, because it has so many eggs in it and flavoring, it does taste almost like a cookie dough. Okay, so I got that in there now. And you want to add your flour just a little bit at a time. Mix the baking powder into it. And you could use one of your little measuring cups to add the flour just a little bit at a time. And let that mix well. It's going to get to a point where it's more like a dough. You might have to change your beater to a dough hook. So while I'm getting that together, it's going to take a little while. So I will come back to you and show you what it looks like when it's all done. Okay, our dough is all made for 2 10-inch pies. This is my pastry cloth. I love it. I'm going to put a lot of flour on there. And I'm going to take half of this dough for 1 pie. It's giving me a hard time getting out of here. Okay, there we go. So, you're going to make 2 pie crusts. The dough is very soft and very stretchy, and that's because of all the eggs that are in it. I also have a little sleeve for my rolling pin, and that helps keeping the dough from sticking on the rolling pin as you're trying to roll it out. So you want to roll it out in a nice circle. You're going to go one way and then the other, so you can keep it in sort of a round shape. And when you get it to the size that'll fit your pie plate, nice thin, probably about 1/8 of an inch thick. Okay, so I usually like to take my pie plate, just place it over it to make sure, and then to check how thick it is. You could go just a little bit more. Now, of course, it's too big for the pie, but you want it to be, and then you can cut off the edges. I roll it up on the rolling pin because it makes it much easier to place it into the pie plate. And then you get your pie plate here, and you just bring this back and roll it on. And as you can see, it has separated a little, but I don't worry about it because it patches up really quick. Okay, stretch it into your pan. A little hole there. Oops, that a little thicker. Okay, now we're going to leave some around the edges because we're going to incorporate that into the lattice work that you're going to put on the top. Oops. So I just like to trim it to the bottom of the pie plate. So soft. And of course you save all the edges because you're going to need that to make strips for lattice work. Sometimes it's easier to use the pizza wheel and just go around and cut it. And that made it so much easier. Okay, so it's stretching a little here and here, and we'll just bring it up a little. Same on this side, patch it up. And we're going to put both of these aside while we make the filling. So I'll place this one out here. I'll put the extra dough back. Take my other piece. And do the same thing and put it in the second pie plate. I like to press it down in a circle first. It gives it a little direction of how you want it to go. Keep that flour underneath so it moves, and you'll be able to pick it up. As you can see, it rolls out very nicely. It's such a great dough. And the only thing you have to worry about is it stretching over the edge, because it does that. So I keep track of my pies as I'm going. I try not to leave too much hanging off the edge because that's what'll pull down. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I'll roll that up. Get our other plate. And we'll shake it in there. Like that. That's really nice. And then we'll just go around the edges that are sticking out. Take all that extra off. Okay, now those can be set aside, and we'll start to mix the filling. Now, last night I made the grain, because the grain has to cool off. So I bought wheat berry, because that's what the recipe always calls for. This is my extra dough for the lettuce work on top. I'm just going to keep this covered and on the side for when I'm ready to use it. And so you cook the orange juice, the grain, and this is what the wheat berries look like. It almost looks like barley. You can use barley if you can't find wheat berries. It's cooked, you have 2 cups of wheat berries, 4 cups of water. Let me see here, sorry. 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg and cinnamon. Some orange, like I did in the crust. You grate a whole orange, you put that in. And I don't remember if I told you sugar. You have need a cup of sugar. So again, we'll put the recipe up so you have it all. So you cook this, and it cooks for about 1.5 hours till the berries are just chewy. You don't want them hard, and they don't have to be mushy soft because they're going to cook again in the pie. So while I clean out my bowl, then I'll be back to you because we'll be ready to do the filling. Okay, so we're ready to do the filling for the Easter grain pie. I have 12 eggs in here. We're going to beat them up. And to that, we're going to add make them nice lemon yellow. We're going to add 1 cup of sugar. And a teaspoon of vanilla. And I always shake the vanilla bottle, so make sure everything that settles to the bottom gets mixed through it. And we'll put a teaspoon of vanilla in here. So that'll be ready to mix with the ricotta cheese. Set that aside a minute. And in the mixing bowl, we now have 3 pounds of ricotta cheese. We're going to throw into a mixing bowl. 1 cup of sugar. We're going to get that going. So we have the paddle attachment on it. We're going to get that going. To that, we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of whole milk. I have 1 teaspoon of vanilla goes into the ricotta cheese. Juice of 1/2 a lemon. And then I zested 3 oranges and 2 lemons. And all that is going to go in here. You want to scrape it up and get all that nice flavor to go in. And once that's done, we're going to add our eggs. And I'm going to pour them in a little bit of time so they mix really good. So it's a very loose filling. But when it's all done, it's really, really, really delicious. And the last thing we will add is the grain, which I told you I cooked the night before. It's nice and loose. I let it warm up a little while we were waiting to get everything together. Just a little more eggs to put in. Okay, and the last thing we'll add. So if you remember in the beginning, I said I used wheat berries, but you can also use barley, which is also very good. When I couldn't find the wheat berries, that's what I used last year. So we're going to throw those in here. So that was a whole cup of wheat berries that we cooked. Stop this a minute because some of the wheat berries went on the top of the blade here. Oh. Okay, guys. Okay. So that looks mixed really, really nice. Gonna clean up a little space here so I can do the lattice work. Oh, that looks so good. I can't really tip it, but you'll see when I pour it in the pies. I want to make sure that all that zest comes off of here and goes down into the bowl. Okay, so I have the crust sitting over there. It did stretch a little bit, so we'll just patch it up a little. And I'm going to take a ladle so I can ladle it a little into each pie so I know I get it's pretty much the same amount into each. And you can see the berries distributed really nicely. They're floating around. So once you have them all filled, now since the crust is so soft, I make a collar for them, and you'll see how I do that with the aluminum foil. Because the filling is going to puff up, and it's going to 325, and it's going to want to. That was my husband. He's putting the oven off for 325. You have it tilted down.
Both one shove.
Yes, I'm going to put both. Okay. So we're almost to the end of what we have. You see how full they are, and then of course they puff up because of all the egg in here. So you're really going to need the collar to go around them. I want to get all this good stuff. I think we'll put it in this one on this side. Okay, got that one done. Now we have to get our cloth out again. with our pie crust in it so we can do the lattice work. Now, at one time, I did actually lattice it back and forth. That's really hard and takes a lot of work, and the filling, as you see, is even falling over now. Goes over the edge. Oh, it's way too much in this pie. We'll give it to him. Okay. So we're gonna roll this out the same as we did before. And remember, we have to get 2 pies of lattice work out of this. So I probably need about 16 strips. Too heavy. Push my little mixer back a little bit to give me a little more room. There we go. So now I cut my lattice work by using this little wheel that I got. It's really old. It's from Grandma. It gives it a little fluted edge. So I'll cut it one skinny edge off. And then I'll start to cut, I guess, I don't know, about not even an inch wide strip. Just use your better judgment. And that one's a little fatter. Maybe I'll cut some more off of it so it's not too fat. So as you can see, I'm not consistent in the shape, and I don't think it really matters. You just want the idea of what they look like. Let's see what we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. Just keep cutting. Okay. And this is how we put it on top. I like to start from the middle and put one across the middle. Oh, I moved my pie over. So sorry. I didn't realize I had the pie shells over so far. Here we go. Good. And then 2 on either side. And 2 more on this side. Another one down the middle this way. And repeat 2 here. So I guess I needed more than I thought. 2. 3. And 4. Okay, so we'll take a little bit of extra off because I might have to roll out just a little bit more for the next pie. That's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I'll be good. Okay. Now you're going to take it and you're going to take your pie crust and you're going to roll it under and incorporate the lattice work that you put on top. Let's move that away from me. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You do your best. As I said, it's a very, very soft dough, and it just wants to stretch and pull, and you have to work it. And once you get all the way around, you're going to flute the pie crust. And the way I do that is I use my pointer finger, my middle finger, and my thumb. We're almost there. Okay.
You can bring it up about 6 inches. Yeah, that's it. Show.
So we've got it all the way around. And I like to do this type of fluting because it gives it a high crust. Oops. So this is spinning around on my counter very easy, which is nice. It makes it a little easy for you to get all the way around your pie. So you just keep pitching till you get all the way around. So it's these two fingers and your middle finger. And you're going to push it with your middle finger and squeeze it with the two in the back. And that gives you a real pretty crust all the way around. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And once you have that done, I'm going to go grab my aluminum foil and show you how to make a collar to go around that. So you want a piece of aluminum foil, hopefully go around the whole pie. And I think that should be about enough. And since I don't need one that wide, and we have two pies, I'm going to roll it in half. I'm going to fold it right in half. Don't tell my husband, but I take his sharp knife and I cut the foil.
It's not going to bother.
So I usually take his nice long, thin knife. And just slice up the foil. Now I have two nice pieces, one for each pie. I again fold this one in half because you don't need a piece that tall. And what this does is once you wrap it around your pie, it keeps the crust from being pushed off as the center rises up and puffs out. So once you've got it like this, you take your pie and you actually do it around the pie and make a nice collar. And you get a paper clip, which my husband will go get for me, since I didn't get it. And what you want is just for it to hold up your pie crust. So if it decides to push out, it's not going to go anywhere. So I tighten this up as much as I can. Tuck it under a little and put a paper clip on it. And that one is ready for the oven. So we'll get the next one ready. We'll put it in our 350 oven and then we'll return and show you what they look like when they come out. Oh, but before I put them in, I'm going to take a little egg wash and I'm going to go around the sides of the crust. So I will do that just before I stick them in the oven. And what I mean by egg wash is we take an egg. Sorry, this is the part I didn't have ready. I apologize. So we're going to take a whole egg here. it up. Trying to get it all nice and all of it mixed. And then I'm just going to take it and dab it on the crust a little. Of course, you should do this before you put your foil around. It makes it a little easier. And if you can, without sinking the lattice work, you can try to get just a little up on the lattice work. And all it does is gives it a nice shine. Okay, so we have one ready. We'll get the other one ready, pop them in the oven, and then show you what they look like when they're all done. Thank you. Oh, okay, so they're going in the oven. Heavy little guys. And I can fit them both on one rack, which is nice, in the middle of the oven. They're going to cook for an hour and a half. I will check them after an hour.
And you have to understand, it's Pop's favorite pie. It's napolitan. The recipe's a Naples recipe. And it's just out of sight. You have no idea.
So I really make this for my husband because he loves it.
And she bakes as good as her mother and
I
her
only make
grandmother.
them once a year. And the kids always say, "Why, Mom? We like the pie." I don't know. It's just special for Easter. So we'll show you what they look like when they come out of the oven. And see you in a little while. Okay, so the grain pie has just come out of the oven. I'm going to take the collards off them so you can really see how they look. You don't really want to grab the paper clip because it's probably hot. There we go. And there you have two beautiful grain pies.
See how high.
Yeah, they're really pretty high. And that's our pizza grande. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you try and make it someday. From our house to yours.
When we cut them, we'll show you what they look like cut and being eaten.
Yeah, Papa says he'll show you when we eat them.
I can't wait, but they're hot.
They're very hot. Okay. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Did you eat? Saying goodbye.
Well, it's Grandma Jane and Pop from Did You Eat? Friday before Easter, we showed you Jane making, or Grandma making, the two grain pies. On Saturday, we took one to a party with 7 people, and that 10-inch pie, we took none home. It was gone. Sunday, Easter, when we made the Montagort and filmed it, as you remember, we served the Montagort and the kids laughing because it went all over the place. When it came time to eat dessert, we just didn't get a chance to cut the pie. But we have 2 slices left. The one thing I wanted to tell you is that you should make 2, because if there's leftover, cut a double slice and wrap it in stretch tight, put it in the freezer. And whenever you want a couple of slices of pizza grande, which is a cheesecake pie with wheat berries in it, just take it out of the freezer overnight, and the next day you'll have fresh pie.
It tastes just as good as when you made it.
Let's see if I can do this. You can see the grain in a pie, the little dots. That's wheat berries. This is it. From what I know, it's a Neapolitan recipe, Naples. It's one of the few areas that it's made from. It's a family recipe that her grandmother had the recipe, and her mother made it, and she makes it. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to put it on Did You Eat because it's really special. It's delicious. It's
and
really
this is
different.
all we were left with after the kids.
Right.
left.
So we cut it in half.
Purposely to show you that grain Like Vinny did really up close. There's all the little grain in here, the wheat berries.
And there's
They're
four.
just chewy.
It's really good. There's three grated zested oranges in the cheese. There's one zested orange in the crust.
And you cook the grain with the zest of the orange and cinnamon and sugar.
And there's zested lemon.
Yeah, and it's all in the recipe.
Yeah, and it's really good and refreshing. We're going out to eat at a friend's house. In fact, the South Korean couple's house, which is great because I love OP food, which is other people's food.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't wait to get here. But we're going to put some foil on this, and when we come home, we'll have a piece later. But it's a really unique pie.
Experience. If you like cheesecake, it's really a cheesecake with grain in it, and so I think you might like it if you're fond of the cheesecakes.
It's not a regular cake crust; it's more like a cookie crust. Mm-hmm. It's nice to have it. We make the thick crust on the end on purpose. So, for an experienced baker, it'd be easy. For a new baker, try it. You can't ruin it. If you don't have wheat berry and use barley, sometimes the barley will settle to the bottom. That doesn't bother us at all because it's still good. The wheat berry, for some reason, when you cook it, is lighter and floats with inside the pie. So, Grandma Jane and Pop from Did You Eat? Hope you try the recipe.
Okay.
Bye.